What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Williams and Blum here on your Wednesday. We are presented, as always, by our friends at McDine and the McDine Corporation in the Wild Rose Casino Studios. Of course, we are fueled by our friends at Cody Road Bourbon. The Irish Cream will be a hit this upcoming weekend in the Tailgate lots. I would encourage everybody to get out and buy yourself at least one bottle. And they also have the amaretto. They have the salted caramel. Or you just go with the old school, the Irish cream liqueur, one of my all-time favorite drinks. How are you, Brent Blum?
Hanging in there. Yeah, doing good. Schedule's out. Big news. Breaking news.
It is, yeah. I wasn't planning on doing this on today's show. So let's get after it and just dig right in, shall we?
Go for it.
The Big 12 has released for the next 4 seasons the opponents. So let's just start with next year.
No dates, just home and away.
Correct. And man, I don't know if it seemed, Brent, when I looked at this for the first time, was rather overwhelming.
Yeah, hard to digest.
Because it's like, I don't know what UCF will be next year. Like, I don't know if Cincinnati is Houston, like, who's their coach going to be, right? Like, this is a very overwhelming deal where, one, we don't know a ton about a lot of these teams, but two, just in this portal era, it doesn't mean as much.
Yeah, there's 2 takeaways to me. One, there's no K-State as a protected rival for Iowa State.
Mm-hmm.
And then secondly, I'm looking at next year. I mean, 25, 26, 27. It's like, yeah, I'm looking at road trips. All right, in 24, you can go to Utah next year. That's kind of fun. 25, you can go.
Although that might be the toughest game in the Big 12.
It's going to be hard. I'm just saying. I'm thinking like road tourists. Hey, fun places we've never been before. Go back to Boulder in 25, Arizona in 26, and Arizona State in 27. So you have a natural vacation destination every year. Okay, I'm looking at that. But then just next year's schedule, you get 5 home games, and I think Iowa State's gonna be pretty good next year.
I do too.
Knock on wood with everything.
Well, I'm kind of looking like, who do you want to avoid next year?
Right.
It feels to me like K-State, Utah are probably the top 2.
I agree going into, and Iowa State will be
Colorado there. With Prime, you just don't know.
Play him. Yeah.
And I actually think Arizona State is on the up and up. And Arizona. I think both of those schools are getting better. Kansas kind of is
well. So I don't know who their quarterback's going to be. So maybe read off 2024 schedule.
24, this is the home games. Texas Tech, which they should be better. Baylor should be better, I would think. I don't know. Maybe they have a new coach. Who knows how the end of this thing plays off. Kansas State, we know that. You get Cincinnati and Central Florida at home. So
all 5 of those at home.
Those are, it's not bad. Road games, you go to Utah, you go to Kansas, which is something we're used to, at Houston, and at West Virginia. That is the 2024 schedule. I'll just give you the 25 schedule. 25, you're going to see a bunch of new teams.
Yes.
At Jack Trice Stadium.
Yes.
Arizona and Arizona State both. BYU and Kansas. That's the schedule in 25 at home, where you go to Colorado, to TCU, to Oklahoma State, to Kansas State, and to Cincinnati. I would make one point, and I know, so everybody's like, well, where's Farmageddon in 27? It's not on the schedule. They didn't want to protect 2 rivals for Kansas State, and they gave them Kansas. I would have. You have the protected rivals. Name off those for me,
yes.
Please.
So there's only 4 in the whole conference. So not everybody got one, because it just makes it, I would guess, difficult to figure out logistics. The 4 protected rivalries throughout the entire 16-team league: Kansas K-State, Utah BYU.
Makes sense.
Baylor TCU. They're both private institutions in Texas. And then Arizona State.
The only argument I would have made is give Iowa State and Oklahoma State just the Big 8 thing.
Yeah.
Like, let's try and protect some of that
Big 8, your history.
But it's not a huge deal, right? Like, I'm not going to, maybe in basketball, like, could you give Oklahoma State and Iowa State something? Kansas and Kansas State are always going to be paired together, right? Like that.
It'd be interesting if you ask K-State fans, football-wise, What's the bigger rivalry for them?
It's Kansas.
It's got to be, right?
It
Like
has
I
to
know
be.
I know
hate each other.
We don't like K-State either.
Yeah.
It's a somewhat friendly, depending on the year, except for on Twitter. But you can't break up Kansas and K-State.
I don't think you can.
And you can't, if nobody else has you can't give K-State two rivalries. I understand the deliberation here.
If we're being objective, like, come on, a Kansas State fan's going to say Kansas is a bigger rival than Iowa State. It just is. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe go through and give everybody one protected rival would be my one thing. I mean, give Cincinnati and West Virginia each other. I don't know. I wish that Iowa State had one of those Big 8 teams
every
that
year.
You could say you're going to play them every year.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, does it really make that big of a difference? It doesn't. And I would also say you can't sit there and applaud Brett Yormark when he expands and signs these TV deals and then bitch about a 9:15 kickoff at BYU or bitch about the end of Farmageddon. Guys, this is what you signed up for. This is the new Big 12. And this has happened all across college football for a long time. Iowa State has been impacted. You lose Nebraska, right? Like, there's been a lot of these. But if we're being realistic, Iowa State and Kansas State, what do they play? It's one of the longest running rivalries in the history of college football.
Yeah.
It's been going back like 100 years or something like that, so I get it. But if you're not doing it for everybody, it's not amongst the four that you listed off. It's not Arizona State. It's not the Holy War. We'd like it to be because I think it's a really fun game. But I'd also point out, from a strict Iowa State standpoint, it's not going to be the worst thing to not have to play K-State every year.
Am I
wrong?
Just going to say that. I like it. Again, you want to be entertained as a fan. It's always an entertaining game. The game is always seemingly close.
Yes.
But, man, they're going to be there. As long as Kleiman's there, they're going to be pretty good. I don't think they're going anywhere.
Joe points out he's watching on Facebook, and I agree. Maybe make Colorado Iowa State's protected rival. I wouldn't hate that either, Joe.
And I'd be curious to that point if basketball's different, because you're still going to play everybody. We're going to play everybody in basketball. You should play everybody. Well, those 15, maybe not. I don't know.
I certainly hope so.
Is there more of a pod system in basketball? That's the next question. But real quick, next year, because I'm legitimately thinking next year you start circling like, oh my gosh.
Jason says minimum 7 wins next year.
Well, let's look at here's the schedule next year. Everybody ready?
Okay.
North Dakota at home. The Fighting Hawks, not North Dakota State. Okay.
Thank God that Northern Iowa game is gone.
Yes. See ya, you and I. At Iowa.
Well, and that got really weird.
Got weird. We don't need to get into it today.
I have no idea what that is.
Correct. Arkansas State.
The only thing we know is that Cade McNamara will be the quarterback. Assuming he's back from his injury at that point, which he may not be. But, I mean, that Iowa deal this week got really weird.
Super weird. Glad we're not over there right now. Arkansas State at home. Not very good. Okay.
The Red Wolves.
And then here are the Big 12 games. At Houston, Texas Tech at home, Baylor at home. This is in any order, so this is not chronological here. Baylor at home, K-State at home, Cincinnati at home, UCF at home, at Kansas, at Utah, at West Virginia. I start looking, you go, maybe is that the breakthrough year? Question mark. You can hold on
certainly,
to.
I mean, you get
hold on to all these guys.
Boy, Iowa State doesn't play 8 home games very often either.
No, it's still 7.
7
and 5. Yeah. Because you go.
You're at Iowa. I'm sorry.
You go
my apologies. Nope. Yeah, you're right.
But 7 home. You're right. 7 home games, and then your 5 road games are at Iowa. Question mark. At Houston, they're going to be down again. Pretty sure. At Kansas will be.
Well, I like getting 3 of these mid-majors going up teams on the schedule next year.
Yes.
Right? Like, I know they'll be a year into it, but it's still taking a little bit. And, Utah and Kansas State and the rest of those games you could be favored in, depending on what Tech will probably bounce back, I would guess, with the way they're recruiting.
They are recruiting very well.
I would think that they would be a top 5 team in the league next year.
I agree. And then Utah's Cam Rising back. I mean, these are things you start thinking about for some of those newbies because we don't know a lot about them. But you're looking at looking at next year. Again, it's November 1 of 23. I think you're looking at an Iowa State potential over-under of 7.5, 8 wins, which is about as high as it's been, outside of that 2021 year.
That is up on the front page of CycloneFanatic.com if you guys want to go and break that thing down. We'll run through 26 and 27. I don't really think there's much to analyze. In 26, you're back to 5 home. It's Utah, Oklahoma State's back, Kansas State's back, Cincinnati and West Virginia. Away games are Arizona, Baylor, Central Florida, and BYU. And then we go to 2027. No way Deion Sanders is the coach of Colorado.
Zero chance.
They come back to Ames, TCU, Houston, and Central Florida. And then your road games are Arizona State, Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, Kansas, and West Virginia. This will be a fun league, though. Like when you see it all laid out like this, like we've kind of thought that the whole time. But this is, again, it's the same point I keep making. Like, who's the big dog here? The best program in this new league going forward right now is Utah. But how does the change in leagues impact them? Right, they have a little more demanding travel, and then
that's a good point. I didn't even think about that.
Does the change in geography impact Whittingham's recruiting? I don't know. Like, there's a lot of variables when you switch conferences.
And TCU still played the national championship game last year. They're going to be there.
Rank the top 5 programs right now. So it's Utah's 1, right?
Yes.
Kansas State or TCU 2?
Yes. Yes, I'd say those 2, 3.
And then it's got to be Oklahoma State probably.
Right now. Yeah.
Trending with a little arrow down.
Just a soft arrow. I mean, it has been impressive the last month.
Yeah. But, and then then Iowa State's in the mix with everybody else, right?
Totally agree.
And I don't know where you put them, but I think you throw Iowa State, Tech, Kansas,
Baylor, Arizona's playing a lot better.
I mean, I wanted to say Cincinnati, but it's such a shell of what it was.
With
Satterfield, I don't think that's going to work.
I'm just looking at next year's schedule and going, oh my gosh, you get UCF and Cincinnati at home. Plus, you go to Houston and West Virginia.
I still
team
think
that loses a lot.
Does Malzahn? Do they have money? Do they have boosters?
They're huge.
I know they're huge, but that's different than having
Correct. money. I wouldn't say they're not Texas money. No, they're okay. They're going to be middle of the road. It's interesting. I am very excited. I'm excited about the rest of this year. Don't get me wrong. But now you start looking at 2024.
You see the point I've been trying to make to everybody?
It's all adding up here.
Like, when you look at Iowa State going forward.
Why not?
You are punching at your own weight class.
Yep.
For the first time in the history of Iowa State football. You're not a featherweight trying to fight with heavyweights.
Since the 70s when you would.
Okay. But you're still in a league with Nebraska and
Oklahoma.
They were playing on that AstroTurf. Like, they've always been the poor underdog. They've always been the guy at the end of a nice neighborhood, and then you have the guy like in our neighborhood who's got all the MAGA flags and he never cuts his yard, and it's like a shack at the end. That was kind of us for a really long time. Until McCarney came along and they did fundraising and that people started going to games. And I know, I get it, guys. The Earl Bruce era, there were some great times. I understand all that. I'm talking the modern era of college football.
Since the early 80s. You're right.
And it's just you've been such an underdog based on all these things you can't control, from your geographies to not having a lot of D1 talent in your backyard to having to compete with the University of Iowa. And then these Texas teams come in and the money's elsewhere. And then you become a very Texas-centric league, so you're even more of a geographical outlier. And then they're going to do the round robin. Like, there's been the deck stacked against you for a really long time, and it's not going to be easy. I'm not making the point that, like, because I would guess fundraising-wise, Iowa State's still towards the bottom of this new league.
Sure.
But it's not some insurmountable.
No, that's a good point. And here's the other thing that struck me along with this week. Iowa State sells out a game against Kansas at home in November. That is incredible. It's Kansas, and they're better. But that just shows what we've been saying here for a couple of years. If Iowa State gets into this league where it is, punching at its own weight, as you like to say, and you're going to win 6, 7, 8, 9 games, people don't need to see Texas and Oklahoma come to town to buy tickets.
And I promise you guys,
you're excited to win games.
You fans watching who are all losing your minds right now, you're going to be happy if they're winning.
Absolutely. If it's not K-State, if Iowa State's 9-2 going to a game and it's not Farmageddon, you're going to be at the game.
You'll be fine.
You'll be fine.
You'll be just fine. Couple of notes here from our chat. Again, for those listening on the podcast, Williams and Blum Wednesday, presented by Mechdine. We do this live at 1:30 on Wednesdays now.
Ames Lager sweatshirt. Got this.
Yeah, it's looking good. Yeah. I want one of those, the black ones. Those are nice. I have one of the gold ones. It's a t-shirt.
Yeah. I'll get you.
My thing's on gold.
You're not a gold. You're a man in black.
I am. I'm a Campbell guy.
Yeah. Go to the Ames Lager store. AmesLager.BigCartel.com.
Big Cartel.
Yeah. I didn't make it, but
that seems very like drug lordish out of you.
It's legit, and 50% of all the proceeds go to the collective. Come on now.
Can you get the cartel involved with We Will? I don't know that that's the worst idea.
There's been worse ideas. There. Yeah, you're onto something. Aiden is a wise person.
I won't get into any details, but there was an incident down on Fremont Street in Vegas.
The cartel's after
that had to do with the cartel. No.
Do we need to be worried about going west?
No, nothing to be worried about.
Okay.
Hassel might need to be worried,
or Ted Flint. We're fine. Aiden and I are just fine. But there was an intoxicated woman claiming to be El Chapo's daughter. She was like in her 50s.
Were you trying to get in an Uber at the time?
No. We were trying to get her to leave us alone. That's what we were trying to do.
Bad rating.
So our buddy Chris Andringa's here watching on YouTube.
Yeah, what's up, Chip?
Thanks for watching, Chris. He's making an educated guess here that the scheduling for men's basketball in the future will be 20 games. You play 5 teams twice and 10 teams once.
Okay.
His guess for the women's would be 18 games, 3 teams twice, 12 teams once.
So you do play everybody once.
So you're feeling a little bit like the old Big 12, right? Where you'd play those southern schools one time.
I just want to play everybody once. The problem you run into, and I'd be curious if you break out all the particulars, like Georgia and A&M have been in the same league for 12 years now, C-Dub. They've played like one time in College Station.
Correct.
Once. Like that is not equitable. That's not a league. I just hope. That's why when you get into too many, this is my concern with the protected rivalry. And I understand Iowa State fans are like, no, we want that K-State one.
Oh, we got one guy who's just, Brant is in here on YouTube.
Not happy about the K-State thing?
Everything is in capital letters. He's very upset that he actually is suggesting that Iowa State and Kansas State play as a non-conference game, Brant, with all due respect, sir, I'm sure you're a fantastic human. I'd love to drink a Cody Road with you. That is a batshit crazy idea. Okay,
I'd rather play Arkansas State.
Yeah,
no, but
bring on hell, anybody but Drake. I'd rather play Kansas State.
Drake,
yeah,
no more.
No more Drake.
Sorry.
They are no longer welcome in Jack Trice Stadium.
Not okay.
But
done with that.
Other than that, no. That is a stupid thing to do. Why would you want to hurt yourself? Just take the wins.
So the SEC has a bunch of protected rivalries, and that's why they have this super unbalanced schedule where it doesn't make sense some years. Where it's like I'd rather lean towards you play everybody in your conference than you have these random protected rivalries which lead to unbalanced. Like, look, the Big Ten West has been a joke for how long now?
Yeah.
And they finally got rid of that. When you have protected rivalries, it leads to inequity.
I also think, too, that it will this new basketball deal, like the league getting so much bigger with uneven schedules, is going to hurt the RPI a lot in your metrics. You can tell me more about that than me, but I think in the past few years, it's like, man, you lose a game and it doesn't impact you at all. Well, now it's like, well, did that team lose to Central Florida, or right? Like, how does that?
Yeah,
I think it's just going to be more of a.
And then the other point, I just got a text because we're live from my friend Andrew. He said nobody's going to care when 2028 happens and this whole thing changes again, which he's right.
Correct.
Like this is just temporary. So college football is going to change even more. I'm not losing sleep over the lack of K-State for one time in 2027.
A lot of people watching
I
us
know.
live.
I'm sorry. I'm just not
right now.
It's not my thing.
I want it too. I
like the game.
But
It's a
my
fun
point
game.
is when I look at it from the Big 12 standpoint,
Yeah.
if I'm in that boardroom,
yeah.
I'm protecting Kansas and Kansas State before I am Farmageddon. If I'm being objective.
I think that's fair.
But that's where I would be like, give Iowa State and Oklahoma, if that matters. But Iowa State, Oklahoma State doesn't fit with the other four.
Does not.
It's
that
not.
doesn't make sense. Then if you're Cincinnati, West Virginia, you go, well, what about us?
This also plays into my point, what I've been talking about. Iowa State's never had these natural rivals in the Big 12. Nebraska was the closest thing, but it wasn't a rivalry because you never beat them.
Yeah, I guess K-State would be that closest.
They would be now. But it was so bad. Like
it was 90s weren't good either there.
Well, the 90s sucked, but before that, like it was such a terrible game, nobody cared. Because these two, like before Snyder got there, they were one of the worst programs in the country. Iowa State is historically one of the worst programs in the country. So
I think Iowa State actually has more wins over them all time.
I'd love for the game to keep playing. Don't get me wrong, people. Like I would love it.
Yeah.
But now you don't have to listen to our guy Kurtz.
Yeah,
he's done even more.
Silences Kurtz.
Oh yeah, Aaron says Mizzou was, but they're gone. That's my whole point.
Do you miss Mizzou?
I mean, no.
No, not really.
I'm focused on now and the future, and I'm telling you, this has always been part of Iowa State's problem. You're an outlier.
Yeah, I've not thought about Mizzou in a long time, except when they.
Remember when they like tried to make Iowa State and West Virginia rivals?
Yeah,
you will play on Black Friday.
When Geno Smith pushed Wally Burnham down.
I still hate the Seahawks to this day.
I will not cheer for Geno Smith. Seems like maybe he's grown up a little bit, but you don't push an old man down.
Williams and Blum, Wednesday, we are presented by our friends at Mechdine and the Mechdine Corporation.
Iowa State leads the all-time series over K-State.
Yeah, because K-State was horrible.
52, 50, and 4.
Ooh.
4 ties.
Man, Iowa State had to just run it up on them in like the 70s and 80s, I would think, because Kansas State was just so bad.
Oh, it was very one-sided there. Iowa State won 74 through 1980, every single game. And then from 83 to 89. Holy cow, how bad was K-State in the 70s and 80s? Jeez.
They were terrible. That's my whole point. It didn't get any traction because they were so terrible. Both of the programs were just bad.
Man.
We were presented by Mechdine. Shout out to Gravitate Co-working. Learn more about them at gravitatecoworking.com. If you are tired of sitting in the basement of your house, maybe it's not in the basement, you're losing productivity because you need to change. I think a lot of people are like this after that pandemic. They're like, oh, I want to work from home. And now they're working from home and they can't focus.
Yeah, right.
Get the hell out of your house.
The dogs get in the way.
Get to gravitatecoworking.com.
I feel like you need to do laundry.
Also, shout out to my friends at Kelderman Manufacturing. We sold them a corn reel. Thank you to the farmer who went and did that down there in Oskaloosa. We want to also let you farmers know, and anyone out there, if you need laser cutting, like pipe laser cutting, any type of laser cutting, that's what they do really well down there at Kelderman Manufacturing. We're pushing that right now. Kelderman.com. You can go to their website, which is fantastic. See all the great things that they do. Last but certainly not least, what time are you going to the tailgate lot this week?
I'll be there for trick-or-treating.
Are you going to go in like because the kids don't have school, you know that on Friday.
The kids, I didn't have it on my calendar.
Kids don't have school.
What did people do without Google Calendar back in the day? Like, how do they keep track of things? Like, they write it down?
You had to put it on paper.
Like on paper?
Yeah.
But you had to carry that with you then?
You had to carry around like a date book.
That's crazy. No, we're probably in the mid-afternoon. We'll be up there.
So,
why do you ask, Chris Williams?
Because I think your kids will think it's pretty cool. The guys from Terraplex Ag.
Oh, the drones.
We're going to fly drones over Coldwater.
What time?
4:00.
Okay, we'll be there.
They're in the 800s too, so they're right by you.
Nice.
And we're going to go right up to the fence, and they're going to let Daddy fly the drone. We got big ones. We got little ones. We got all sorts of drones, and I'm going to take them for.
Can they put cameras on there?
Yeah, you're going to do it all.
Can they take an aerial photo of the We Will bench and tables?
God, sure.
Okay,
can do anything we want.
Good advertisement.
They went ahead and got it cleared. The FAA,
they're okay.
You got to do all that stuff. But so you can come and check that out if you're down there.
You will be hanging out in 704 if you want to stop by.
I am not giving away my number.
I just did. You have to make a donation if you want a names logger.
How much is it donate? Like $2 and you'll give somebody a beer?
Yeah.
It's not a bad deal.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into Iowa State and Kansas. Kind of a cool story that this is such a big game, right? I mean,
yeah, it really is.
It's a neat deal.
It's a neat deal. I am fired up.
Kansas, we'll give you a little scout here. Very different team at home compared to away this year. I don't know how much you've looked into this. Now, some of it, they've played really good teams on the road, but they have not particularly traveled well. And I'll give you their two losses were on the road. They got blew out by Texas, which, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They lost to Oklahoma State a few weeks ago. Then they had their bye. But do you remember they also had that game in September where they had to just barely sneak by Nevada?
It was horrible.
A little more analysis here on them. Jason Bean, this quarterback that's getting all this attention because they beat Oklahoma with him last week. He was just okay. He's fine.
He's nice. He's fast.
The key to them is their defense, though. Like last week, they were able to run the ball. They had a guy, what did he run for? What did Neal run for? 112?
Well, yeah, Neal and Heischard, probably the best combo in the league.
They run the ball, but I think we've all probably paid too much attention to the quarterback situation.
That is 100% true. 100%.
Because this Bean...
It's the running game that sits everything
Bean's
up there.
fine.
Yeah, nice player.
He's fine. He's a middle-of-the-pack quarterback in this league.
I agree with that.
He's better than Emory Jones, who Iowa State has feasted on. Like he's fine,
true.
But it comes down to that running game, and then more importantly, Kansas's defense, which still is giving up a lot of. It's better. I saw a great stat from Kansas, something like they forced 12 turnovers at home and 1 on the road this year. Now they haven't had as many road games; they've only played 3 on the road, but it's still skewed quite a bit there. I just really, Brent, am worried about Jeremiah Cooper's status.
Yep.
That, to me, is a really big deal. Matt Campbell said on Tuesday he's 50-50 if he plays and that he was practicing. What does that mean that he's practicing? I don't know. Is he going full speed? Probably not, I would think.
And it's what? It's like a muscle injury?
It's like a hammy or a quad or something.
Yeah.
I'm just going off of what I saw on film. I went back and found the injury, and it looked like he popped a hammy or popped a quad or something like that. Mm-hmm. So how bad is it, right? Like some of those things they feel worse in the game, and then they come along quite quickly. I just know that they're going to need safeties to come up and help in the run game against this Kansas team.
It's honestly what Oklahoma State did, and it ended up working, and it didn't in the first half. Look at that Oklahoma State game. They held them to, let's see what the number exactly was at Oklahoma State, 29 carries, 90 yards, 3.1 yards per carry. Good defense. Kansas for the year is averaging 5.6 yards per carry. That is a bunch.
Yeah.
Kansas is 7 yards per play. That is 9th in the country. This isn't just a good offense. This is a great offense. They are arguably the best offense in the Big 12. So, but it starts with the run game. If you can make them throw it, and Bean can have some success. I mean, the guy threw for 400 yards at Oklahoma State.
He's fine.
But they stopped the run and eventually threw some interceptions. I mean, that's what you have to bank on if you're Iowa State, is you say, all right, Bean, you're not running, you're not beating us with your legs. Your Heischard and Neal are not beating us. If you're going to throw it for 350 against our secondary, tip your cap. Like, it just starts up front, and then historically, Iowa State has been able to, when it wants to, has been able to stop the run. Just in this Haycock 3-3 stack regime, it seems like Iowa State has always been able to, if it dedicates itself to stop the run, it has been able to do that. You leave yourself on an island, but I'm taking the chances on my island with Tampa and Purchase than I am with, a light box and letting Highshaw, Neal, and Bean get 7-8 yards chunk plays.
Well, I'll tell you this.
And if they beat you through the air, you lose.
You'd rather play Bean than Jalen Daniels.
That's a fact.
Because you don't want that dual threat guy.
Daniels is a legit good thrower, too.
I mean, Daniels is a guy, if he's healthy, and they're 6-2 right now, would be in the Heisman conversation. Because he's an explosive player like that. Bean, again, he's fine. Like I don't think he sucks. He's fine, but he's not going to run like crazy against you. He can. He is somewhat turnover prone.
Interesting
thing. He will throw a jump ball every once in a while. Not often, but it will happen.
And you look at last year, Kansas ran average 5.4 yards per carry last year. Very similar to this year. What did Kansas do against Iowa State a year ago in a game that was super ugly? Arguably, Iowa State should have won that game down in Lawrence. But in that game, Kansas had 31 carries for 112 yards, 3.5 yards per carry. You give me that number, I'm taking it. Iowa State wins the game Saturday. Like 150 yards. That's my number. Circle that.
I like the fact,
Circle that number, 150 yards or less.
That they beat Oklahoma. It feels like a letdown spot for them. It's just to bring that energy up again. That plays well for Iowa State. I'm just telling you, like when you read this stuff, when you listen to it, the Bean stuff is overrated.
Yeah, he's electric when he has the
I'm
ball.
not saying he's over. I'm saying like he didn't win that game for them last week.
No, it's their whole system.
Yes. I mean, he zero touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
You have to make him throw
218 yards. He completed 46% of his passes last week. But if you would read headlines right now, you'd be like, "Oh my God, is he better than Daniels?" No, he's not.
Vince Young out there?
Yeah, he's not. He can beat you. He's good enough to make that throw. He is athletic enough to take advantage of it if you're out of position. But it's more predicated on their running game and their defense.
Yep. And then if you look at the defense for them, not great. Never going to be great. Not going to be great this year. But good enough when their offense is getting 7 yards.
And Chris just says and he says he just beat OU, so he is good enough. They beat OU. Like this was not. If you watched that game,
5.5 yards per carry and 225 yards rushing.
Exactly. Yeah. Their system beat OU. He is good.
He's part of this team.
When that is going well and their defense is playing better, and when they can run the football, absolutely. That's what happened last week against Oklahoma. This was not some, like you said, Vince Young effort where he just willed them to win. 6.8 yards per completion, 46% completion percentage, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and 218 yards. He did not will that team to win. In fact, he tried to give it away at the end.
Well, and the other thing about that game, Oklahoma was super undisciplined in that game. 11 penalties for 100 yards. Like if you again. Back to Iowa State. Iowa State's been playing really good football. Had a couple turnovers for the first time in a long time last week, but still pretty good on the penalty front. You're in a night game in Trice. It's going to be the atmosphere is going to be awesome. Fireworks, they're coming.
Yeah, Paul, we're like this pyro university.
Let's embrace it.
Well,
why not?
We were on this show, however many months ago, saying like, God, the intros suck. Right, like what's going on with the intro? They don't get the songs. They don't. Now we're like launch like we're doing fireworks shows.
I'm gonna guess All Blacks Saturday night. Gonna guess.
Pretty much have to.
You have to. You just have to.
The guys play differently in the Blacks.
It's a sold out. Kansas hasn't won a name since 2008.
Do you remember where you were on that date?
I do. Actually, I know exactly where I was.
Wasn't Iowa State up like?
They were 20 to nothing.
Yeah.
Austin Arnaud.
I sat in the end zone that day. I actually didn't cover that game.
Arnaud versus Reesing.
And then they dropped like 35 in a row or something like that.
Ended up like 35, 20 something. It's bad. The head coaches in that game?
Chiswick and Mangino.
Hey, Chiswick and Mangino.
That was the last game they won at Jack Trice Stadium.
15 years ago.
Wow.
It's going to be, atmosphere is going to be really good. No, but again, Kansas is good. I think
they're playing really good football.
We have to get out of this. Oh, it's Kansas.
No,
this is. They are a top 25, top 20 team. I mean, I felt bad actually for the fact that Oklahoma got penalized last night in the rankings, the football playoff rankings, because they lost to Kansas. It's like, no, Kansas is good. That's not a bad loss.
Kansas is, at this point, the second best team Iowa State has played. Well,
Is it?
Is Oklahoma better than Kansas?
Beat them.
I know.
No,
So maybe it's the best team Iowa State has played.
This would be. If Iowa State wins Saturday, it's the best win Iowa State would have this year.
Yes.
Not close.
I would agree.
But it stopped the run, and then if the line keeps getting better, with Black at guard has been such an improvement. Those guys are moving them. I think Iowa State could control the line of scrimmage. And this is one of those games, a lot like last week, where if you can control it, C-Dub, you play it in the phone booth again. And this over-under is a lot. I think Iowa State would prefer this be a low-possession game. I think it was, in the upper 50s?
It was like, I thought it was like 54 and a half or something like that.
Has it gone down to that?
I'll let you look it up.
I
want to thank our presenting sponsor, Mechdine, again, Mechdine.com. Go and give them a look if you're in the market for a job.
Down to 53 and a half.
53 and a half.
Jeez, well, that's pretty low for a Kansas game, which so I think they're on to what I'm thinking. Iowa State wants a low possession. If Iowa State could script a game just like the Baylor or the TCU game, that's what it wants. Get up early, bury them, do the vampire move.
All right, let's do our Wiffles Hybrids Big 12 segment here and look ahead to this weekend's Big 12 schedule. We do have a Thursday night game, which is nice. I like one Thursday Big 12 game.
That's fun.
Every week. Let's do it. You can go to the TCU Texas Tech game for $4 right now. That is on Thursday night. Not a lot of meaning to that one. Kansas State is at Texas, and we both really like Kansas State here.
I think they're on up. I think this isn't really even an upset, but it would be thought of as an upset. I think K-State wins the game. I think it sets up really well for them. Offense is playing a lot better. Their defense hasn't given up a point in 9 quarters at K-State. Backup quarterback for Texas, Ewers isn't quite back. If that game was in Manhattan, I think that's a pick'em. The fact that it's in Austin makes me like, okay, we still got to go win on the road. But if K-State is as solid as it has been playing, Texas has been a little shaky. I don't know. I think that could upset the entire Big 12 football season right there.
No,
K-State gets it done.
I really like Kansas State.
Better chance of an upset, quote-unquote upset. K-State at Texas or Oklahoma State at home against Oklahoma?
Phenomenal question. What's the line in that one? It's
6.5.
I would take the points there for sure.
I think I'd ride with Oklahoma State as well.
What's
Oklahoma's headspace right now?
Defense is not what we thought it was, or it's just regressed. One of the two.
And Oklahoma State's been running the ball. That's exactly what Kansas did to Oklahoma.
So, and then this is just on ESPN, but the cheapest ticket to get into Boone Pickens Stadium on Saturday, $300.
I believe it. Last time they're going to
play. It's the last bedlam ever. That we know of. I'm telling you, I'll fix college football. Play these rivalry games and bowl games and pay NIL money to the players to keep them around and play an Oklahoma State bowl game. Put Iowa State up against Nebraska. Hell, play Iowa against Iowa State. Play Texas A&M against Texas. Well, that would have been in the past. They're going to be in the same league. This is how you fix the postseason in college football.
Thank you.
I'm telling you. Oh, okay. Well, all these players are opting out. Well, let's give them. All right, we'll pay you $10,000. Will you play in the game?
I firmly believe that is coming. Not this year.
It's better for them to be getting all these players. They don't want a Bass Pro gift card. I mean, sure, it's nice, but they'd rather have cash. You want them to play, pay them. Everybody's making money off of it.
If Bass Pro's listening, Iowa State's freshman guard, Brendan Black, big fisherman and hunter. Just FYI.
I could see that guy being a big hunter.
Yeah.
That makes all
just
the sense.
loves it.
He's nasty.
He's nasty.
Nasty guy.
Big hunter.
Okay, Houston at Baylor.
Yeah.
Central Florida at Cincinnati.
Is that really necessary?
BYU at West Virginia. Kansas at Iowa State. We got three. We have three awesome,
great ones, 3 not so great ones.
3 awesome games, and it's great. Most of the people watching and listening will be at Trice, but you got an 11 a.m. with Kansas State, Texas. You got 2:30 with Bedlam.
Yep.
And you got 6 with Iowa State, Kansas.
And man, that new cell signal in the lots and at the stadium, huge game changer. As far as
yeah, you watch games all day.
Phone.
Yeah,
stream or heck, bring your box.
I tell you what, this is my last weekend with the old Dish tailgater device. There's no need for that thing.
I ran Roku or app, whatever I had up there. The other just worked flawlessly.
Yeah, I'm done with it. And plus, like you start to realize now how terrible a technology those old Dish things are. Right?
Yeah, it just like feels like you're back in the 80s.
Oh,
I'm trying to line like you gotta.
Oh, and it's like angle. You can.
Yeah.
Like trying to get that damn thing to catch.
And the great thing is, Cita, if you for some reason have a Hawkeye fan at your tailgate, you can watch Peacock.
Oh yeah,
because that's the only way you can watch.
Think they may lose too.
Proud of their Peacock.
Yeah, you just keep jabbing at those people.
Someone's got to.
Real quick, our guy Steve Kemp is watching, and he wanted us to remind people that they're doing the trick or treat in the RV Village on Friday night, 6:30 to 8.
6:30 to 8. Okay.
You want to know something crazy?
Always.
So I love the kids, and I love me some Halloween. It's my favorite.
You were Ghostbusters. I saw that.
Yeah. Well, I was wanting to put out a Slimer inflatable outside of my camper on Friday night, for the kids. I ordered that sumbitch last night at 11 o'clock. It was on my doorstep by 6 this morning. Isn't that not unbelievable to you?
Was it a drone delivery?
I don't know. Somebody put it there. Maybe it was a ghost.
It's an Amazon facility.
Who the hell needs Slimer in 6 hours or whatever it was?
The Amazon Bondurant must have the Slimers.
It must have.
It's got to be there, right?
You'll know where I'm at if you see the Slimer.
You just said I don't want to tell people where I am. And you just told them where you're going to be.
I'm not telling you my number, but if you find the Slimer, then you are in luck. Put it that way.
There you go.
Okay, last thing I have for you. That's our Wiffles Hybrids Big 12 segment. I just wanted to touch on women's basketball exhibition.
I'm super pumped.
Tonight.
I wish it was on TV, but it's not.
It's not on Cyclones TV?
No.
Why would it not be on Cyclones TV?
Either. It's like playing in old school times. You gotta read about it on Cyclone Fanatic.
You just ruined my whole night. Are you serious? We're not going to be able to watch it tonight?
Just live stats, I'm pretty sure.
Why would they not put it on TV?
I don't know. I'm not involved. I'm just reading the schedule. It's not on. It's literally just live stats. So you can do your own play-by-play, kind of like you did back in the COVID year when you would have to call the games from the studio. Should we go up there? Can we live? Hey.
Yeah, we can. I can't. I got to take the girls to dance tonight.
You got to go to dance?
I got dance.
4 hours, you and me in a live stream with like a camera. Can you imagine?
Now that's diehard Cyclone Fanatic sicko stuff right there. We're going to do a live stream
from the concourse.
The concourse of the women's basketball exhibition.
For Truman State. No, it's only live stats. So or you can go. Even better, just go yourself.
Yeah, just go ahead and go. I'm really pumped to watch this team. I just think it'll be really interesting to see what Finley does throughout. This is going to be and their schedule's brutal.
It's not easy.
They do not get a break with their non-conference schedule this year, and I feel for them because I'm guessing that they made this schedule thinking that they were going to have a little more veteran team.
Sure, yeah, and what better way to learn? Do you want to go to the kids game with me on Monday? They got the Screaming Kids game.
Yes.
Okay, let's go. We'll be there. 11 o'clock.
Are you going to go?
Yeah. 11 o'clock on Monday. I'm going to be there. Butler. It's like it's legit. That
game
is on TV.
It's like a real game.
It's a real game.
It's not Florida A&M or...
Doubleheader on Monday between the women and the men. It's here.
Yeah, I know I'll be up there for the men's game. I'm just wondering what intern Aiden and I have as far
scheduled.
As me having to do podcasts.
Okay. Well,
I know I have 2 guys named Chris. I don't even know what my schedule is on a day-to-day basis. Well, nonetheless, I'm guessing our Connor Ferguson will be up there tonight for Cyclone Fanatic, so he'll have an in-depth report for
Even if it's only on the stats, I'm really curious who the starters are going to be. I have no idea. I have a guess, but they're going to play.
I don't really know. Yeah, it feels like they're going to be one of the youngest teams in the Big 12, though, for sure.
Have to be. Thank goodness for Emily and Nye, who have been around for a while.
Feels like Nye has a breakout year.
I think so.
I mean, she started to really be really good at the end of last year, halfway through, really.
And then the person who's been really impressive, apparently in practice, is the transfer from Sacramento State.
She's a stud.
Yeah, I'm gonna play. And
she's a starter for sure. Those three are starters.
She has 2 years.
And then the LSU transfer is sitting out. We did find out.
Yes.
So what do you mean supposedly?
Well, yeah, that's what they said.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'm guessing if there's injury, she could probably not sit out if she didn't. I don't know. Or she have to sit out because she transferred.
I don't know. I was just told that she's.
I don't think she's.
They only said she's redshirting at media day. That's what I'm going off of.
Yes, that. But will be a really good player.
So we both think Iowa State wins on Saturday, I think.
I do. I think.
I like the spot. I am worried about the defense. Just it's teeny bit.
That's I'm worried about That's my number, 150. Keep them below 150 on the ground. I think you win and potentially win by double digits. If they go nuts on the ground, going to be a long night at Trice. If you can't stop the run, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's Bean or Daniels or Todd
the only
Reese
thing
in quarterback.
Encouraging to me if Cooper's out is that the linebackers have gotten exponentially better the last month.
That's a fact.
And, maybe you see a little more of like Zach Lovett and, your spine a running back or
yeah.
I don't know exactly what you do, but I'm worried about all the backup safeties when it comes to physicality in the run game. That is a major concern for me.
I think that's a well-founded concern because we don't know. Cooper's good. Verdon's good. But the backups have not proved it.
One guy that popped for me watching Kansas's tape was their corner on defense, Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, they're not throwing at him lately. He's really good.
Legit.
He's an all-conference player.
So, I mean, I'm guessing they put him on Higgins.
Yes. But the
tight ends have a big game if Iowa State's right.
Absolutely.
It's got to be a tight end game.
This is a Bramer, Klotz.
This Kobe Bryant, it's spelled Cobee. It's not like the old basketball player. But I was going through his stats and he's only given a. You're right. People aren't even targeting him.
He's right there with Tampa as maybe the best corners in the.
Yeah, and he all-American type stuff that he's been able to put down.
But again, teams have had success running the ball at Kansas, and if Iowa State continues to grow as much as it has, Iowa State's run for 125 yards or more in 4 straight Big 12 games. I think that could be 5. You get Rocco more in some of the design stuff. And this is a game, if you get Eli going downhill and Cartavius and, maybe hopefully Sama gets over the fumble thing, this is a game you can win on offense by running the game.
Get the hell out of the game. Fumble the ball, you're out. We got other running backs.
We got other guys.
He'll be back.
I think this is your physicality wins with your tight ends and your line. And if you can't, then it could be a long day.
To be true, Eli Sanders is running at a really high level. Really high level.
Super impressive.
The cool thing about this game, regardless of what happens, is that these are both teams that are playing at an incredibly high level right now. It's homecoming. The forecast looks fine.
Looks really good.
Night game. This will be a really great weekend. It'd be much better if Iowa State wins, but the way this sets up will be awesome.
To think that Iowa State's playing a game November 4th to remain in first place in the Big 12 is awesome. And I think this is the thing you appreciate, and you hope you just enjoy the ride. And, we don't even need to mention the bowl eligibility thing. I think that's going to happen one way or another, and you just hope it's this Saturday, and you keep on rolling. Because win the next 2. You got Texas coming to town, potentially at 6-1.
So are we rooting for Texas?
Yes.
You're rooting for Texas?
Yes.
Yeah, I kind of think I am too.
I think yes. I think they might lose, but
I just I want to see Kurtz and those guys be upset.
Right. Because now they can get away with, you're not a real rival. It's Kansas. I don't like that.
We're above you.
We're above you. You're not Kurtz.
I actually like Kurtz.
I like Kurtz too.
So. All right, Aiden, Wyatt, intern Aiden, thank you for production. We're here in the Wild Rose Casino Studios. We'll be live as long as we can every Wednesday at 1:30 going forward. Signing off for Brent Blum. My name is Chris Williams. We'll be back on Sunday night with your Sunday night podcast. Go out and buy yourself a bottle of that Irish cream, baby. Later.